Hello everyone, how's it going? So today we are going to make a simple Python application based website. So the idea is to create a full blown website project that we can deploy hopefully in the future. But in order to get to that stage, we want to start from the basics, and the basics starts from understanding what Flask is and then how we can render simple HTML applications. So here you can see Flask, and Flask is nothing but a simple, small micro server. It's a Python based application which allows you to run web applications. So imagine a software that is running on the website, a Python application that if you have noticed my channels, most of the applications that we recently developed were Python, and these were all running on our local computer. But what if we had an application that you wanted the world to interact with? So imagine a e-commerce website or a social networking website like Facebook or Twitter, where you want people to interact with it, where they can go and post your comments on it. They can upload images, they can see other users accounts. So, and it's a very dynamic situation where people are interacting on a real time basis, and they're able to see the output. So this is nothing but an online application, a full blown software that is running on the web server. And Flask is nothing but that back end system or that back end engine which allows everything to happen. So it's a simple, very simple application, and we'll see how we can use that to render our HTML websites. So the idea is to, and this particular video will be used in reference to many other future videos where we are going to try make our own more own websites, more own online applications that we are going to be deploying later in the future. And this video series would be the base point of how you can set up your basic web server. So without much ado, let's go into how we can set it up. So in in my previous videos, I've seen some comments coming up where people have asked what kind of editor I'm using. So I'm using Sublime, and it's a free version, and you can go into sublimetext.com and download. It has software packages for Windows and Linux and Mac OS also. So you can just go ahead and install this. So since I'm using Linux on my computer, which I would also recommend, highly recommend it, and you won't be disappointed. Go ahead and install Linux if you have a dedicated machine for yourself. Where you don't need to worry about Windows. Go ahead and install Linux full blown on it. Otherwise, at least use a virtual drive where you can use Linux on your main computer. But Linux, Mac OS would be the second preference. But if you can get Linux installed and work around it, that'll be the best thing. And trust me, I was a Windows user myself, but Linux, hands down, is the best. So just go ahead and install Linux here. And if you have Linux, and then install Sublime Text. And this is the code editor that I'm using. Of course, you need Python, and you can go to the Python website and download. They have different versions, Windows, Mac, and Linux, of course. So go ahead and install Python. And the next thing you need to do is, let's have this folder here. So I have this folder created, and it's in my website Flask projects folder. So I'm now going to create a new folder that we'll be using for this particular project. The first thing is open terminal. So we're going to be opening terminal here, and we want to install a virtual environment. So different types of virtual environments are available, and virtual environments are very key if you're developing different types of projects on your main system, because it allows you to install different dependencies that you can use for your particular project. So we're going to be using virtual env, and you can install virtual env by pip install virtual. Let me make this a little smaller so we can all see the font, see what's going on. So preference, if I reduce the size to maybe 20, I think that would be easier and visible on the screen. So what you need to do is first go ahead and install pip install virtual env. So this is the virtual environment creator and this is the application. So you need to have this installed first. In my computer, I already have it installed. Now, once you install virtual env, you need to create a virtual environment, and you can do that by first writing virtual env. So virtual env and space give the name of the virtual environment that you want to use. So in our case, we're going to call this Flask env. Yeah, we'll call it this way. So virtual env space Flask env, and it will create a virtual environment for us. And I'll press enter. So it'll take a few seconds and then create a virtual environment for us with the name Flask env. So if I go back to the folder, you can see there's a new folder created here with the name Flask env. Now let's come back to the command prompt. Now the folder is created, the virtual environment is installed. Now in order to activate it, you will have to write down source space and then the path of that file. So you have the folder name is Flask env space bin space activate. And once you have this, just press enter and you'll notice in front of my computer it shows Flask env. So this means that I'm now inside the virtual environment. So now I'm no longer using my local environment, but I'm using my virtual environment. And now I can install whatever dependencies I want for this particular project. So let me clear this window here. And the first dependency for this project would be the Flask server. So you can do that by pip install Flask. So we install that. It will take a few seconds and it will install the Flask website and the Flask server, and also along with that certain number of other templates that are going to be used for Flask along with it. So it's now Flask is installed. We just clear it. Now let's come back to the folder. So since we have everything, our main setup ready, now we can start coding and see how we can develop our simple Python application for now. So let's create a new file and we'll call it app.py, and we have app.py created here. So let's open it with Sublime, right click, Sublime. So I have Sublime opened up here. Let me make the font a little bit big. So we have the app.py opened up. Now, in order to create the Flask server, the Flask website, the first thing you want to do is import Flask. And you can do from Flask import Flask. So this is the file, and you need to do from Flask, small caps, Flask, import capital Flask. For some reason the font changed, but it should be capital Flask. So from Flask, you're importing Flask, but this is a capital Flask. So look into the difference. That is important, and it's case sensitive. So the first Flask is small f, the next Flask is capital F. Once you have that, now you initialize the Flask application, and you do that by calling the app. This is just my application name, and this is how Flask refers to itself. So we'll call that Flask application in our case app, and it has nothing to do with the file name app that we created initially. So it doesn't matter. This can be different altogether. So app equal to Flask, and you provide the name. So you let Flask know that whatever I'm going to define now is the name of my Flask application. So in the brackets, we put 2_ name and then 2_ again. So you're specifying that the app is nothing but my Flask name. So this is initializing the Flask. And now in order to run this application, you just need to have if $name equal to the inverted commas and then double underscore main double underscore main. And you just specify if name is equal to main. It's nothing but that you specify that if it's in the main file folder of your application, you should go ahead and run Flask, and you just specify app.run. We are also going to use a different flag in this case, and it is called as debug flag. Debug is equal to true, and we're going to set debug equal to true, which allows us to manipulate the application in runtime. Now, what does that mean? So we'll see how we go ahead and run the application, and it renders a web page for us. So the advantage of this is if you have debug true, you can always go back and change your application, and it will automatically detect the changes that you make in your editor. So I'll explain that later on, but that's a very cool feature. And especially if you're in the development stage, you want to keep that debug equal to true. And I'll show you what's the advantage of that. So we'll go ahead and save this and try running this. So open our command prompt again. Let's list the files, and we can see app.py is created here, and we'll try to run this. We use Python app.py, and you can see that it says that the environment is running, and it's running it on this particular web page. So it gave us a link. It is 127.0.0.1.5000. This is nothing but your local host of your computer, and it's running on the port address 5000. So if I were to go and open up a web page, let's open up a web page. We have a web page open up here, and if I type localhost colon 5000 and colon, it would, okay, so it's giving me a not found error. Let me see what could happen there because of that. It should have come up with the page. So let's see localhost colon 5000 if there is anything that we have missed. Oh, I'm sorry. It is correct. Now, we did not define anything in our Flask web server. That's the reason it's showing not found, because we did not define any HTML web page. But this is just to show that your Flask web page is working. So I'm sorry if I've confused you, but just go ahead and simply run app.py, and we saw that it ran the application, but now you can also see some timestamps here. You can see that it was somebody tried interacting with it, and it's given the 404 error. The 404 error is given because we did not define any HTML page, or did not define or did not let Flask know what we should do when someone interacts with this particular link. So we'll go ahead and code that in and see how that affects the web page. So we can see what kind of effect it's going to have. So right now we are getting this 404 web page. We'll go into our Sublime editor and now make the changes. The first thing is, let's define the home page. Now we'll give some space here. We'll define the home page, and we'll define the home page as this @app route and slash. So the slash is nothing but, the slash over here is nothing but the home page or the index page of your website. So when you have app.route, it's defining that this particular function or this particular area is nothing but defining the home page of your website. So once you have that, you go ahead, and the next line you need to define your function, what the function is going to be. And we'll define this function as index, and then we can return. So whenever the home page is called, it will come to this particular section, and it will go into the function, and it will see what the function index is doing. You can allow the web page to return some value for you, and we'll say return hello world, hello YouTube viewer. and just go ahead and save it. So what is happening is when someone goes and interacts with the home page, it will go to this route, this particular route here, and it will go into the function that is defined in that route. And in our case, the function is index, the home index, and it's going to return this text, hello world, hello YouTube viewer, and it will be displayed on the website, on the web page. So let's go ahead and come back here. We can see that it's detected some change. Now I don't need to shut down the server. I can always go ahead and make any changes in my Python application, and this server will detect those changes and automatically replicate on the web page. So I don't need to shut this Python application and then restart Python. It's automatically detecting my changes and reflecting it on the web page. Let's go back here, and if we refresh this, we can see it shows up, it gives us that return value of hello world, hello YouTube viewer. So this is a cool feature. This is a simple web page, simple home page. Now we'll see how we can develop other web pages, other pages into application. So we'll call another route, and now instead of the home page, we'll define some other page, say maybe an about page, and we'll call /about. So if anyone were to go and click on the about or go into the about slash, then this is what it's going to get. So we'll say def about, and we'll define this function as about, and we will say return you are in the about page. So just a simple line, and we'll see how the difference comes up with. Now I've went and saved this. So let's go back into the web page. Now if we refresh this, we're on the home page now. You can notice that we're on the home page over here. And if I were to say /about and press enter, you can see it shows you are in about page. So now we can see that it's now going ahead and creating different pages for you. So let's go back into Sublime, and this is nothing but static information that is already coded in your Python application, and it's just displaying it for you. What if you wanted to run some dynamic applications? So the Flask application allows you to run dynamic applications where it can interact with what the user gives in and then display whatever you want. So it's an essential feature that we'll be utilizing more in depth later on, but just to get a glimpse of what it is, we'll see how we can code it in this particular application. So let's go ahead and create another app. So app.route, and this one we'll call it more like a dynamic application, and it will allow us to take the information of the user, the name of the user, and we'll say slash, in this case, name. Will allow the user to enter the name of the user. So we have /name, and whatever would be defined over here after the slash, whatever the name would be, it would take that information and then pass it into the function. So we'll call this one def user name, and then return. So let's understand this, what is happening over here. So in this case, all the web pages that we had in the top, it's all static web pages. Wherever when we go to that page, it just displays the static return values that we had. But now, since we are taking this name tag out of the web address, it will pass on that name tag into the function, and it can take that function name in our code and display it for us. So what we're going to say is name. Now instead of just the word name, we're going to specify that name is nothing but a string, and we'll specify stating that by hi plus name plus welcome. So it's going to specify nothing but, let's give some space here. So it's going to return hi and then take the name that was provided into the address bar and say welcome to that person. So let's save this. So let's open up our command prompt and run the application python app.py. It's running. So let's go back into the page, and if we were to write down localhost, and if we say Mispa, in this case it will say hi Mispa, welcome. If we were to say hi Ben, it would say hi Ben. So it can take whatever name you provide and it will consider that as a name and then return that value accordingly. This is just displaying what the name is, but it can be used for developing more complex applications, and we'll do that in the future. So with that, I'll come to the conclusion of this video. This is a very simple basic introduction of Flask and how we can set up a simple web server for ourselves. But later on, we'll see how we can render HTML pages and more complex surfaces. So if it's something that you're interested in, especially developing your own website, stick around and subscribe to the channel if you like the content that I'm posting. And if there's any questions, if you're running into any issues, feel free to leave a comment in the description or in the video, and then I'll be happy to help you out with it. So until then, take care, stay safe, bye-bye.